Hello. Looks like I'm coming through. Daniel, Drew, say stuff.
Hello.
Stuff.
Things.
Stuffing things.
Things and stuff.
Stuffing things?
All of the things.
Oh.
Oh.
So, yes, sounds good. Rad. Stuffing things. I'm definitely stuffing things.
Oh, is that what the fish things look like? As
Yeah.
it's like going through. I would have loved to have seen that beforehand.
Yep. So, you do see some scrolling artwork on the screen. I'll put it. I'll put it away for now.
Fish people are coming.
I'll put it away for now while we talk.
Sorry.
It was up last time we played. Yeah. Pay attention, Drew.
I was having to use my phone for Google Meets, Logan. I couldn't watch the stream for all the fancy pictures.
The moving pictures. Not even moving. So yes, hello everyone. My name is Logan. Never say dice on the internet. I stream D&D stuff. I stream video games. I write D&D stuff for my Patreon and the Dungeon Masters Guild. I also do like editing and collaborations and all sorts of stuff. Don't mind me. Just dropping a ring. Oh, cool. I don't know where it went. Awesome. Guess we're not engaged anymore, Rachel.
Oh yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Light applause, light applause. Malachi emotes. As far as announcements go, it's all the normal stuff, but I definitely still need your as much support as I can get. So follow me on social media for some updates and posts about things. Check out my adventures on the DM's Guild. Check out my Patreon. The way that... Nothing, Bradley? No? What? Oh yeah, you're not on Instagram, so he doesn't see all that stuff. Yes, Rachel and I are engaged. I dropped the ring. I don't know where it went. Oh, it's okay.
Mission.
That's not important at all. Oh, there it is. Anyway, so yes, the way I have sort of my content divvied out is adventures, like full-length adventures on the DM's Guild, and then the small stuff that make up those adventures on my Patreon. So if you're more interested in small stuff like spells or subclasses or magical items, monsters, NPCs, whatever it is, you can find those on my Patreon. Today, Austin, Score666, guessed correctly on what it was inspired by. I made a crossbow that essentially is the Halo 3 birthday grunt effect. So subscribe to my Patreon to go check that out. It is very fun. And then there's also some more stuff like that. I have a Danny Phantom Druid subclass. I think it was Druid.
Ooh.
So much fun stuff.
Spooky.
Very spooky. It is almost Halloween month. Halloween season. Might have to do something special with this group. We'll see. So yes, please go check out and subscribe to those things. Help support me. And of course, if you tune in for these streams, bring a friend. For Shadows Over Driftchapel, I actually have some supplements that I can give away for free to people. I just want enough viewers at the time of a giveaway to do it. So go bring a friend. Bring your own D&D groups. Just send them a message, send them a link, get them hanging out in here and chatting with us. And they can get a free copy of Shadows Over Driftchapel. Very fun stuff. And then besides that, Shard Nights on Monday, my Eberron D&D campaign. It's actually like 2 sessions away from being done. Being able to say we're finishing a campaign, that's amazing. That's rare. That is a rare occurrence. So please tune in for that. It's going to be some big stuff, big events. Very dramatic. So dramatic. If you want to know how dramatic it's going to be, Eberron's already dramatic, but I've also been reading Song of Ice and Fire. So it's going to be really dramatic. I'm on the 3rd book. That's how dramatic it's going to be. So anyway, I think that's it as far as any new announcements go. Also, if you happen to tune in late, you won't hear this anyway. But if you're here now and don't know what happened the past weeks, just do command ! Recap in the chat. So ! Recap, and you'll get a little brief summary of what has happened recently. As few spoilers as possible. I really tried not to spoil too much, but it's gonna be really hard not to, because you can already see we're missing someone. So, I think with that, we're going to do something a little more Char Knights-ish and do a little role-playing warm-up. Just sort of help get into character. Because even though it's very dire at the moment, we still want to have a spotlight on our lovely people here. Would you guys prefer to have your own prompt each, or you both answer the same prompt?
Doesn't matter to me.
I don't care.
We'll do the same prompt. And Drew, you just had a die in your hand, right?
Yeah.
If you'll roll a d20 for me.
Got a 12.
A 12. Okay, this isn't dirty, but for each of you to answer individually, what is one thing your character prefers to do alone? So think on that for a minute. Could be just eating dinner. You prefer to eat alone? Maybe go on walks? Go for it, Drew.
Sludig, when he is alone, he prefers to find himself a nice quiet place, preferably somewhere out in nature where he can find a spring. Anything that will give him the motion in the world that he needs to find peace and meditate. And his life gets flipped upside down.
Oh no.
All right. Amina, though the crossbow was thrust into her hands out of necessity early on, the act of crafting the various implements, the various bolts and spells and such that can be imbued upon it, though they are laborious and time-consuming, they do also provide a very similar meditative state where you keep your hands busy and you can sort of digest the world a little bit more easily.
I like that. That's very good. I always like those takes on like mindfulness and meditation where it's like finding mindful moments like that in non-traditional ways.
Especially important in this world. This place sucks.
Definitely true. I imagine though, like those people who really preach about meditation and mindfulness living in Driftchapel or something, and people are like, everything's horrible, my whole family is diseased, my kids got kidnapped by a cult, you know, my wife is dying of a sickness, we have nothing to eat but our own vomit, and, you know, just horrible stuff. And somebody's like, well, have you tried, you know, a 5-minute meditation and see if that
Have you heard about self-care?
Yeah. You should just take a minute for yourself, you know, just go outside, get some fresh air, go for a swim.
A swim. Yeah, old.
Oh man, speaking of swim,
We're in a boat.
You're in a boat. I'll monologue for a second and do the recap and just go straight into what you guys are doing, so it all kind of bleeds together. So keeping it kind of short, after Kamin went to work his normal charismatic magic, he's trying not being sad. Yes, Ludig. Kamin working his charismatic magic, something strange happened, and even though you heard him talking to some people, When you bust through into the other room, he was not in there, neither was anyone else, and you found him, his hand severed at the feet of the statue of a woman like you have seen before. In a flurry, the statue moved, screamed, and returned back to her normal position. Kamin woke up, healed him up a bit, and you tried to find an alternative route to continue down the cult's waterways. Titanic style, floating on a door, you guys drifted along the waterway, following it as best as you could, going with the current. But seemingly, that scream from the statue wasn't just a random scream. It alerted some folks to your positions, your location, or at least just that someone was there. And so when you rounded a bend, you saw a boat tied off. Of 2 people. It's big enough for 3 people, actually. You found a boat tied off, a few cultists, an unfamiliar person, and then many of those fish folk, which I will start to put up on the screen. Not that. Those are tentacles. Those will come up into play in a minute. Fighting with them proved treacherous for Kamin. The Deep One's fish folk, they did their job, attempting to pull down and drown anyone that they could, and eventually clawing and biting at Kamin, who eventually lost consciousness and his life. However, being determined heroes, managed to grab Kamin's body, climb aboard the boat, and get away down the current, fighting off the last of the Deep One fish folk and making their escape. Of course, in this moment, it takes a few minutes to collect yourselves, to process what has just happened, and to digest your current situation. So currently, you are floating down in a little sailboat big enough for, or a little rowboat big enough for maybe 4 people. Kamin's body dripping with the water of the waterways. Same with both of you. Well, actually, not Amina. She didn't get into the water. Sludig dripping the water. And now the boat now pooling a little bit with blood and water. There aren't any more hostile people or creatures in sight. No sounds except for the rushing of water, and just coasting down this tunnel. As you start to gather yourselves, a few minutes pass, catching your breath. And eventually you see that the tunnel, the waterway that you're in, begins to open up ever so slightly at the end of it. And when it does, with the drift globe still floating behind you, you're able to gaze out a little bit to see that there's no more rushing water. You're effectively now in a cavern, a lake almost, underground. So the boat empties out, and instead of, the current continuing in any which direction, the boat just kind of slowly floats out into this lake. You hear the bit of rushing water off in the distance, but everything kind of falls silent, and you have a moment to yourselves before making any new motions to do anything.
Quick, important question. We do have oars, right?
You do have oars.
Good.
Sorry,
just making
Kamin
sure.
snaps off arm, flattens out fingers.
No, he only has one hand anyway, so that wouldn't work.
Oh lordy. How big is this lake?
From what you can tell, you can't necessarily see the other side with just the bit of light from the drift globe. You can send it out a little bit, and it's still a little bit beyond the light, but from the sounds of it, it doesn't seem necessarily endless. It continues, and you can hear the rushing water a bit echoing off in the distance, so it continues elsewhere. You just can't necessarily see the other side. Pretty fucking big.
Pretty fucking big.
I don't
Well,
really trust anywhere in here, especially right now. Do we just want to make our way to where the water is still moving and get further down the river from those people?
I should say so. And Amina, like, as soon as she sees that this is like now a huge lake instead of like facing squarely like upstream, like where we were keeping an eye out for others, she's like frantically looking around, like making sure, like, oh no, there better not be any more of those fucking fish people.
Speaking
And
of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just describing it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Amina, will you be our eyes so I can turn off the drift globe? It may be safer to go a little stealthier than with a beacon pointing to us.
You hardly had to ask.
And then I will call the drift globe back over and use this command word and stuff it back into my cloak.
Amina,
Yes.
if you'll make a perception check for me.
Okay, if you say so. 22.
I'll message you, Daniel.
Ooh!
I'll message you on Discord.
Sluta gets to row in peace, not knowing what's behind
Just
him.
in the darkness. So Daniel, Amina, listening out, trying to look out at the very least. You don't necessarily see anything out of the ordinary. In fact, it probably increases your paranoia, the fact that you don't hardly see anything. The water's barely moving. You don't smell anything out of the ordinary, but what you do smell, and Sluta, you would know this just from swimming in it. The waterways are salt water, which, as you start to dim the light and go on, this is where things get really brutal for a second. You don't necessarily know how long you may stay down here. Between both of you and Kamin, you have enough water for fresh water for a day for one of you, half a day for another person, or several half days. But about generally, depending on how long you intend to stay down here, you have about 3 to 4 days potentially, maybe 5, depending on how long you can make it last, before you die of dehydration. And walking
What a way to go.
from the Urwile Bog to Driftchapel or vice versa took you 5 to 7 days, about a week. The crude map that you have, the waterways, depending on the current, and if you and Amina can pass back and forth and keep it going and try to get to Driftchapel, you could maybe make it, but there's a good chance you might not. You could take a different route and try to come out another exit, as you have seen before, but that requires a bit of navigation. So just putting that out there. Once you start realizing, hey, salt water, that's bad.
Okay.
And similarly, you won't necessarily be able to sleep very well in a boat. So you also exhaustion from that as well. So think about that while I send Daniel this.
Okay.
You're a homie, Bradley.
Bradley.
What did Bradley do? Eat me!
Oh man. If only that book of the never-ending ocean wasn't to more salt water.
I know, right? I know. Let's see. I know kind of what I want to do next, but that's going to depend on what this is about to be.
So, taking a moment to gather yourselves in the boat, underground lake, at a bump in the log in the bottom of the sea. Amina, you hear that. You realize, ineffectively, as far as dehydration goes, a water skin, which each of you has a water skin, holds 4 pints of water. The typical person or typical adventurer needs 8 pints of water a day. You can have less than that to prolong your water. However, you have to make a con save every time you do that and potentially get exhaustion. But the thing with dehydration is that it compounds. So if you already have a level of exhaustion, you get 2 on top of that. So it's very quickly just, 3 days you could be dead.
Yeah.
And then also in your guys' position, sleeping on a boat, and a tiny boat at that, is going to be very difficult. And so then you're also risking going without sleep, which causes exhaustion, which can, again, very quickly compound. Sludig, with your knowledge of the map, and you've been traveling for several days out to the bog, the closest exit, besides just going back upstream, is maybe 1 to 3 days away. The paths out here don't seem as consistent, just because on the way out here a new one formed, so there potentially could be more, but it could also be an illusion, a hallucination, a trick of the mind. But the nearest one could easily be a day or 2 away, or you could try and go upstream, which will be very tiring and very, very difficult. So, kind of leave it up to you guys.
Well, I think the upstream route, the time to do that was before last session. So, probably going downstream.
I think so too. Yeah, because we've definitely made it known that we were down there with that little scuffle. Yeah. I don't want to think about how many more of those cultists have probably gathered there at this point. So, okay. I'm still gonna do the thing, but I'm a little bit more scared now. Okay, so it's quiet now generally, right? Where we are,
yes.
Quiet and still. And okay, so Amina, after a few minutes of kind of sensing that we're in the clear, she puts her crossbow down for a second, and she's going to pull out the mirror that she stole from Madame Kyra, and she'll just look at the glass and just say something along the lines of, "Look, I have no idea if you can hear me right now, but we need your help. This thing, this darkness, this insanity that has gripped these people it's going to eat the world alive. It's going to consume everything. It took our friend. And as much as I'm having a hard time swallowing my rage for you and the other witches, I have to know when we need help. So please, if you can hear us, send help."
You're looking into the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
So Sludig, you hear Amina talking, and as it, she goes on, it gets a little bit louder, echoes a little bit. And Amina, I imagine you're kind of almost pacing a little bit as much as you can in the boat, turning and, just, taking just step back and forth. And you happen to turn holding up the mirror, and over your shoulder, the whole time you can, Sludig is sitting there, oars in hand, kind of slowly making the boat's way across the lake. And then you happen to turn and pace and look in the mirror, and there's now, with your back towards Sludig, there's someone standing in between you and Sludig. And when you look, you see Kamin standing there. And you glance over your shoulder away from the mirror, and Kamin's bloodied, scratched up, bitten body laying in the boat. But you look back through the mirror and you can see him standing there looking at you through the mirror. And you watch as he reaches down into the boat and pulls up what looks like a statue of some kind. And with the kind of that, classic charming grin that Kamin typically carried, he smiles at you and takes that statue-looking thing and reaches back and puts it into his pack and closes it. And you look away and glance back, and body's still there, his back's laying there, but you look back into the mirror and he's gone from the reflection.
Huh. Well, then I guess I'm going to rifle through his things and find that statue, because if that's the first thing I saw after I said all that, then good Lord Almighty, it better help us. So I'm going to go through his things, try and find that statue.
Yes, and you sure do. You pull out. I'm going to send you a picture. Actually, I'm assuming, Sludig, you will turn around to see what Amina is doing.
Yeah, especially after I hear her speaking to herself. Now she's
And you're like, oh
rifling
god.
through Kamin stuff.
There's a statue. It's maybe 1 to 2 feet tall. A sort of octagonal base with a series of tentacles and eyes carved into it. Immediately, Amina, you recognize it as being made of gold, but it's tarnished and weathered and old. And it takes a long time for gold to go bad, essentially, and it's this old, it's ancient. And immediately as you pull it out, it's dripping wet from where Kamin had fallen into the water, but the water is black as it is dripping off and into the boat.
Huh. Interesting. First of all, how did we never notice that he had this? This thing, and it's if it's solid gold, that must be heavy, right?
Yeah. And you don't remember him ever saying a thing about it.
Like,
What is that statue?
I mean, how in the world did he carry this? Okay. Well, immediately I want to do. No, that might not be it. I've never seen him. This. I have some more questions.
He's been walking around with that much gold. Why have we been buying him drinks?
I have a feeling that this is here for more than just wealth. It has. Okay, I'm gonna cast. Is magic item? Okay, cool. This will do the same thing. I want to cast Identify
Nice.
on this statue. I want to learn whatever magical properties or magic is imbued in it.
Okay. It is just beyond ancient. Nothing like you've ever seen before. Not even, pre-war type stuff. It is ancient. But casting Identify on it, it causes some of the runes engraved on it to light up a bit, but then turn black. There's a bit of light within the engravings of the tentacles and the eyes, and then it turns black. And essentially what you decode about this statue is that it contains a mortal piece or a mortal part or just a part of Katu. Part of her being or her magic, her presence, she is in here somehow. But it also, while it is part of her power, it is also part of her weakness. And it is powerful against her own being. So against her own magic, against her own trickery, against her.
Sorry, I had to make sure that I got that in writing. Amina, after looking at this and knowing and learning that, says, I don't know why or for how long Kamin has had this. But if you and I are to make it out of here alive and hopefully in one piece, we had better keep this thing safe. Otherwise, I have fears of what stronger creatures in here might do to us. Something about this is it's part of something ancient, something dark, something that these cultists are after. That's all and I have a feeling it'll protect us, or at least give us some leverage.
Protect ourselves, or wow, protect the statue over ourselves. Understood. I'll make sure it stays out of their hands as long as I have half a breath left in me.
So, start rowing.
Row.
And we'll say poetically, as that happens, dramatically, a deep one claw grabs over the side of the rowboat. And we'll go into this sort of a sequence here. There are a certain number of things you'll have to do to survive down here. Get a little bit of dramatic music going here. Turn off some of this. Turn that down. There we go. So effectively, there are challenges that you guys are going to have to deal with in your own ways, though. So, for example, trying to navigate your way through these tunnels, trying to figure out which way you need to go, which way is up and down, left and right, to try and get to an exit, daylight, essentially. There's also the fact of steering the boat, because sometimes there will be a current, and you may have to make a sharp turn that is unexpected. You may have to really get the boat into a right direction, typically using just sheer strength. But then there's also finding hazards, trying not to hit jutting out rocks, trying to avoid areas where there's a suspicious amount of like stalactites hanging overhead that might fall on you and break the boat. There's also the fact that, as Amina has pointed out, you guys might be targets now. And so your presence is known to all these horrible monstrosities and terrible things in these waterways. So there's also being able to spot them and stop them, fight them back. And then finally, being able to discern hallucinations and nightmares from reality. Because as you have seen before, there was a false tunnel that, proved to instead be a horrible, terrible thing. And the same thing might happen, and that could very easily throw you off course, finding hallucinations and nightmares. So, effectively, you'll need to make some skill checks. Those are kind of the things you will come up against, the challenges you will face, trying to navigate these waterways. And you will need to succeed on a certain number of skill checks to make it out before you fail a certain number of skill checks. Does that make sense?
Sure
Makes
does.
sense.
So you
sorry.
effectively, you can use whatever skill you want. You just can't use the same skill more than once. Let's say Amina wants to keep an eye out for hallucinations, but you also want to keep an eye out for monsters. You can't just make 2 perception checks. You'll have to get a little creative with your strategy with that. Maybe figure out, do investigation, or change one to survival, or something like that.
Okay.
And same for you, Drew. So between the two of you, there can only be 1 perception check. You can't each make 1, if that makes sense. And then finally, I know this is a big ask, knowing how you guys need a long rest terribly, but if you decide to burn a spell slot, use key points, use an ability that is essentially a non-renewable ability except on a short rest or long rest, then the DC will be lowered for that check. So that way you can spend a resource to get a bit of an easier time on the skill check.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll start with the first check. Whoever wants to take the lead.
And this is us trying to outpace this deep one, right?
Outpace, fight off any kind of creatures you come up against. Because, like, effectively, you'll be able to fight them. It's just how often you can do it. If you want to get creative with how you fight them back and flavor that into whatever skill check you want to make, you're more than welcome to do that. And then also navigating your way through the waterways. It's kind of whichever challenge you want to face.
Oh, to start with,
check.
okay.
Yeah.
I know you said thematically a hand reaches up and grabs the boat. And
It's
I
just
didn't know if
essentially
that's where we were starting.
putting a little fire under your butt.
Ah,
Basically, yes, Ludig, you can see the hand and just like crack it with your fist. But then, you just have to do that like 30 more times over the next little bit.
So, Amina, now that we know we're being targeted, do we want to have the light following us so that seeing through this place will be a little less treacherous?
I should. We might as well. They know we're here. No use in trying to play the stealth game as much as I like to.
It would have been nice, but I throw up the drift globe and I say its command word, and now we have flight for 30 feet of bright and 30 feet of dead. I guess I'll get us started with trying to use survival to figure out where we are on the map and what our best course is.
Okay, go for it. Make your survival check, and you've got the map, so now it's just a matter of figuring out which way is north.
Disadvantage on everything.
Oh, yeah,
Hardcore
'cause you're still
15.
poisoned. Oh, no. So, doing your best to kind of mind map, you've definitely taken some crazy turns, but as you start to pace around, sail around the exterior of this cavern, you see that there are multiple tunnels, but kind of trying to mind map, like, we made these turns, so okay, so we came out here, so that means we're right back here on the map. And eventually you find a tunnel, fairly convinced that that's the way. So you just kind of have to bite your lip and go, and after a couple minutes of sailing, eventually you see a statue of a woman holding a fire at her stomach, a hand up to her mouth, and as you get closer to it, it goes out, and then you see another one up ahead, and it starts to go out. And so you think you have found the right way, and now they're trying to throw you off course. So you're going the right way, but they're catching on. Okay, so that is a successful survival to navigate the boat, all the while There are deep ones swimming behind you trying to catch up. And also occasionally you think you hear a groan come from Kamin, which causes you to look down. He's just laying there still.
Okay.
Like that.
All right, so it's me now, yeah?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know if this needs a check. Let me know if it's something I need to do. I want to bind Kamin's hands and feet with whatever rope we have left.
Yeah, that can easily be done.
Wise.
That was good. That was very good. We'll say you could just do that. We won't factor that into you're surviving at the moment.
We're gonna not take anything for granted now. Considering there are undead popping up here, we could very well have one right on our hands at this very moment. So I'm gonna do that, and I would like to cast Mage Hand on my crossbow. Get that sucker floating up there, and while that's happening, make sure that I have my dagger out and ready in case one of those little fuckers decides to crawl up there so that I can go a little stabby stab on them.
Yeah. And something like it's pretty easy at first as you see deep one webbed claws reach over the edge of the boat, take a shot, stab at one, reload quickly. It becomes almost like a factory line of like over here, reaching out.
Mm-hmm.
But then there comes the moment when the drift globe, the spell fades for just a moment, and in that lapse of darkness before either one of you can say the command word and get the light going again, Amina, you see these bulbous red eyes appear in the floor of the boat as these shadowy arms and tendrils and this inky darkness reach up and start clawing at you. Easily enough, with the single command word getting the light activated once more, bright enough to get these shadowy creatures away. It reminds you that darkness, just a little bit, they'll take advantage of it. So over the course of you sailing, Amina, because you're essentially going to be constantly on guard, constantly fighting, essentially, if you'll make a Constitution check for me, and because of your mage hand essentially assisting you, the DC will be a bit lower.
Okay, and that's a disadvantage, yeah? Or
I don't think you're at disadvantage. I'm at disadvantage for everything because I'm poisoned.
I don't think you
okay.
do.
Okay, all right. So just a straight up regular
Yeah.
Constitution. Okay, cool. That'll be. Oh, try that again. That's gonna be an 11 for me.
An 11 for you. Amina, it reaches a point after fighting off all these deep ones, fighting these shadow creatures that keep appearing every time the light goes off for just a moment. And eventually, when the light comes back on one more time, there are large tentacles, as big as tree trunks, reaching up, breaking the surface of the water, threatening to rock and tip the boat over. Eventually.
Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
My Google Meets just like glitched for a solid 10 seconds, and all y'all were frozen. I was like, oh, uh-oh.
As Slutig, you hear the fighting going on behind you. Eventually, the light goes off. Amina, you are huffing, puffing, sweating, dripping water, a couple scratches and bite marks on you. You see these tentacles grab either side, and then the boat whoosh, rips to one side, and both of you into the water. What
Where's
do you do?
Kamin?
Where's his body is floating limply in the water.
Oh God. Oh God.
And you see, beyond, within the darkness of the salt water, what almost looks like this scaly serpent-like body, but it's kind of short and stubby. The head branches off into a series of tentacles, and then on its back are these series of like little wings that are helping push it, and as it slithers through the water, tentacles breaking the surface, grabbing at everything.
Um,
And you can just hear it like deep hiss through the water, bubbles billow out. The boat, you're still near it. It's still floating along at sort of the same pace. It's just upside down.
ooh.
The first thing I'm gonna do is flip the boat, do the whole swim up over it, grab the far side, go back to flip it.
Make an athletics check for me,
Okay,
Mr. Poisoned.
17.
Okay, you flip it. All the while, this tentacle on the head of this creature, it's slithering about Amina. You can feel it kind of trying to slither up your leg, grab your arm, and it doesn't have a grip on you yet, but it's definitely trying to grab you in particular.
Well, I'm gonna guess the statue is not on the boat anymore.
Did you put it in your bag or anything?
I don't think I did. No. I'm gonna. Oh, okay. Wait. No. Hang on.
I got it.
So we're in a cavern, and even though there's an underwater lake, I'm imagining there are still things that like run up and down it, like eventually like a cavern wall, or maybe something
yes,
like
definitely.
that, like I could, I don't know, climb on.
Mhm.
How is climbing speed affected if I'm underwater?
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I feel like climbing underwater would be super easy because
Like you weigh less.
you do weigh less. You can kind of easily. Are you trying to climb like completely up the wall, like out above the water?
Like, let's say I'm underwater and like I need to like actually swim like to a certain point, but then like I see that, oh, I'm near a wall. I want to climb up, get back to the surface as fast as I can. Like, how does climbing speed work if I'm underwater?
It's a little amorphous right now, so we'll say you can do that. Make an athletics check for me. I don't know what your athletics is like, but essentially to try and get away from this creature that's like slithering around you and get to the
Oh boy.
get into a climbing position.
That's gonna be a, oh, thank goodness it's an 18.
You get over, you find a few rocks bedded into the wall that you could try and get a handhold on.
Okay. Perfect. Oh, screw it. I'm gonna shift. I'm gonna do the thing because I feel like I need to move fast. I gotta go fast now, so.
Gotta go fast.
Okay, so, I'm gonna, now with that climbing speed, I'm going to go back down into the water, and I want to find that statue and bring it back up.
All the while, I assume Sludig, you're getting the boat prepared too.
The boat is prepared. I guess I don't know how naturally the ranged effect of my gauntlets would affect the water, so I'm going to avoid those. Yeah, I'm gonna get the boat flipped back over. I'm gonna try and distract the creature. Smack the surface of the water with an oar to give Amina a chance to get down there.
Definitely. Yeah, easily enough you can do that. And Amina, if you'll just give me a perception check.
Okay, that is going to be
Pull Kamin in.
21.
Okay, now give me an acrobatics check.
That's going to be an 18.
So you break surface of the water. You have the ring of swimming, I believe, so pretty easily you're able to get over there, shift into your half spider form, and scuttle up the wall. And Sludig, you glance over, and in this just elegant display, Amina scuttling up the wall, whoosh, does like a backflip and dives down the water as Amina sees just the glint of gold underneath the water. She disappears beneath the surface while you are over here with the the oar smacking the surface. You're doing that thing with like a pool noodle. Where you
Oh, God.
Smack the water, just keep it wavy. How to make your life harder.
Yep. And then Amina, you dive down, lay hands on the statue, and bob back up and immediately clamber back onto the boat with ease.
Mm-hmm.
And then
That's right.
easily enough, now at both dripping water, you can keep distracting the creature long enough to make an escape and make whatever turns you need to. Okay. So that's 1 success, 1 failure. So there's still more monsters to come, more strange turns and currents to fight against, potential natural hazards in the way, and also supernatural hazards. So, what other tricks do you guys have up your sleeves to try and make your journey a little bit easier, more manageable?
So Sludig's mini pilgrimages, he's had to stay close to moving sources of water so that he has a chance to have typically fresh water to drink, but water to survive. And he wants to kind of draw on that knowledge to kind of help keep an eye out on dangerous areas in the water, whether it's shallow spaces, hidden objects in the water that may ruin the bottom of the boat, and I'll use nature, if that's cool.
Yeah, that works. Go for it.
Let me see my bonus. +5. Disadvantage, come on. Okay, 15.
Okay. Yes, picking up on those cues and even just hearing stuff of like the way the water sounds and kind of the way the light shines off the surface of the water, you kind of remember a lot of that information that you were taught about those basics of survival, and now applying this strange underground salt waterway. And so you continue to navigate these hazards all the way through. And at this point, I'll go ahead and ask. So effectively, you can either have, both of you, have half the amount of water you need and make a Constitution save, or one of you can have all the water you need, and then the other person has to make a Constitution save. So you can either kind of prolong your water use as much as you can, because then for another day, if one of you has all the water you need, the other person has half, then you are effectively, one of you will be entirely out of luck the next day. Or you could just do half and half and half and half, or about that. I'll kind of leave that up to you.
Sludig is fine with making the Constitution save. He has confidence in his ability to go at least this first day without water.
Amina, does that work for you?
Yeah, it does. However, could I elect to not I'd like to elect to only drink like half of what I need.
Okay, so essentially you take the third option of just saving as much water as you can.
Water is king. Yeah.
Okay. So then yes, let me double check the number here. D&D. This campaign not sponsored by D&D Beyond. Food and water. Not create food and water.
If only.
If only.
If only. Oh man.
If you decide to drink only half as much water, you make a con save. If you choose to have less than half the water, then you automatically get a level of exhaustion. So, Sludig, does that change your answer?
Yeah, kinda. I don't want to start off with a layer of exhaustion.
Okay. Then if you will both make a Constitution saving throw for me.
Okay.
Ooh, double sevens, 15.
I also got a 15.
Well, on a DC 15 Constitution saving throw, neither one of you is exhausted. But as you continue on, all this physical exertion and also not being able to rest as you need to, if you will each make one more Constitution saving throw, this time for sleep, for rest.
18.
Look at that. I also got an 18. Twinsies.
Here, and I thought you guys were gonna die,
The dice gods
Sheesh.
be on our side.
right? But effectively, the next round of those checks will not be as easy. But we continue on. The scenery doesn't change very much as you continue. It's just these salt-encrusted tunnels, stalactites overhead, constant barrages of fish folk and random tentacles and horrors threatening to turn your boat over. And also just constant dehydration. Your lips are so chapped. You're so tired from not having enough fresh water. You go to eat your rations of dried nuts and berries, and it's just miserable. It's like eating saltines without anything to drink. Like, it's constant. All the while, Kamin is getting a little mushy in the blood and water at the bottom of the boat. But you trek on. So you've got the hazards and navigation covered. Now, Amina, if you're going to be this next check, we're going back and forth. You can find a different way to fight off these creatures, all the monsters. You could attempt to help Sludig steer the boat in the right way, which is more of a physical thing. Or you can help Sludig by essentially dispelling, not necessarily magically dispelling, but like pointing out like that's not real. Like, that's not a real tunnel there. Like, being keen enough eye and senses to be able to point out, don't listen to that voice over here. That's not right. Because it's constant with that as well.
Okay. Before I answer that question, in what direction is the majority of any deep ones or tentacles coming from? Is it towards the front of the boat, one of the sides, towards the back? Where are they mostly coming from?
It's a little of everything, but it ends up being a lot of the back just because, they may pop up once to the side, you hit them a little bit, and then they drift back and end up coming at the back. So it's mostly in the rear.
Well, I have an idea then. I want to take my the swamp milk bolt that I crafted earlier, but I'm going to tie it to a little bit of rope, tie it towards the back of the boat, crack that sucker open, and let the poison just flow right behind us.
Oh, man.
Nice.
don't even know what kind of skill check that would be.
I have as a DC 15, but I don't have anything else.
Well, go ahead, make me an... Are you proficient in Poisoner's Kit, I assume?
I don't
Or
know.
alchemy supplies?
Nope.
Well, it's part of your background, so I'll let it happen anyway. Make an intelligence check and add your proficiency bonus to it.
Okie doke. Intelligence. That's going to be 18.
Okay. And that puts them to sleep? Or is that the other one? I can never remember.
No, this is poison.
This is just the straight up poison one.
This is poison.
Oh, yep, it sure is.
Let them see how it feels.
Yeah, so you watch as they pop up, and it filters in through the gills kind of at their neck and side of their face. They start very lazily drifting up to the surface and like and then start doing like backstroke. Like they start going real slow. And eventually, like, if one does happen to catch up and they grab onto the back, they don't go beyond that. They kind of just grab on. And then just kind of, like, tow. They don't really climb up. They just follow behind and eventually, like, let go and drift back. It's a little sad looking for a while. And the little bulb of their anglerfish head goes, like, flickers and droops a little bit. It's a little sad looking. And with that, eventually, drifting along, making enough turns, going sometimes a little bit upstream, following the waterways. Sludig, you see a bit of daylight coming from up ahead. Takes a few moments for you and Amina to discern if it's real or not. But it seems real. And so you start
These are the best strokes I will ever make in my life. Has it been longer than 5 hours?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not poisoned anymore. Praise be.
Good. So as you continue, as you see the daylight, you see it's kind of reflecting off the water a little bit, so you have to make a few extra turns. But as you're rounding that, let's do the final bit of checks here. So you each had half the amount. So essentially, you had 12 pints of water. So one of you will either just go without water and get an automatic level of exhaustion. And then the other one will have to make the Constitution save.
Do it for you.
Okay. So Sludig, if you will make the Constitution, or if Sludig, if you'll take the point of exhaustion, sorry.
I'll do it for you. Drinks the water.
I'll make it easy so you don't have to make the decision. I'll drink it myself. Sludig, do you have any levels of exhaustion already?
I do not.
Nice. So you just get one level of exhaustion. Amina, if you'll make a Constitution saving throw.
Okay. Woof. It's a 7.
So Amina, you get one level of exhaustion, and what that means is disadvantage on ability checks, but that's okay because you quite literally see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then finally, rounding the last turn.
Very quiet. I will be loud for you, meanwhile.
Yell, Drew, yell. Finally, though. I'm squishy now. Whenever you round the turn, Amina, you see a familiar sight with some rocky ledges that just a handful of days prior, the Deep Ones tried pulling you down to. And finally, you reach there, park the boat, climb up these little bit of ledges. And as you start to do that, a tide starts to come in, bringing the boat and all of you up closer to sort of the roof, but you swim over very quickly. I assume Kamin on a shoulder, who is now terribly waterlogged. And when you break the surface of the water, you see a familiar clearing with a little crumpled church, little altar shrine nearby, and just the site of a few days ago where you saw the creation of this watering hole. So climbing out into the setting sunlight, drenched to the bone, covered in cuts and bruises, Sludig, your arms are on fire. They hurt endlessly. Blisters on your hands. It truly miserable experience.
Sludig's trying to get that 21 strength.
But you step out into the sunlight, and we'll take a little break to refill in Toilet Cat. You survived.
Praise. Yes. Oh. Yes. Oh,
Brief moments
man.
of high panic.
Yep.
Like, when the boat flipped for, like, step 1, I was like, cool.
We're dead.
Cool. This is it.
Yeah, I had a couple things down, and that was probably one of the nicer things. One of the nicer consequences.
Oh, the nicer one. Oh, how thoughtful of you.
I mean, one of them, the classic one for sequences like that is like, yeah, your journey just takes more time. But for this, whenever you literally had a maximum of like 4 days of survival, more time is bad.
Is dead.
That's dead. So, yeah, boat flipping is one of the nicer ones. The other one that's a little bit meaner was that the oars get taken or broken or just ruined.
Sludig lays down. He's just butterfly the entire way.
Sludig, you tie rope to the edges of the boat, put it in your mouth, get the ring of
but
swimming.
I was thinking, how quickly does the ocean water spray out of that book? Sits in the back, opens it. Speedboat with no sense of direction slams it right into the cave wall.
Let's see, chapter 1, chapter 2. Let's flip to chapter 8. What's that one? Oh god, I would have loved to see that. Anyway, let's take a quick break before we just keep talking for a moment. We'll Toilet Cat, if I can get some Toilet Cat emotes in the chat, and then we will be right back. Hello, everyone. So Bradley, you're about to get your answer. So, the two of you have just emerged from a watering hole entrance to the cult's waterways that they apparently use for travel and whatever other nefarious things, because travel is nefarious. But now you are maybe, you know the way now. You know where you need to go. So you could easily get back to the witches in 2 days or less. Or you could head back to Driftchapel in 4 or 5 days. But it's up to you guys if you want to take Kamin back to the witches or not. Because with your knowledge of resurrection and bringing people back from the dead, because of the way religion and the gods have treated people, that's not a thing people can do anymore. Even the most devout people can't bring people back from the dead. But these folks, such as the occultists or the witches, who have a grasp on the Gloam, they have found a way to do it, albeit in a not necessarily good, wholesome form, but a form nonetheless. Do you want to take Kamin back to the witches, or are you going to just make a cairn for him and let him lie?
feel as though the words come easier in Sludig's voice. I wouldn't have us taken back to those witches. What I saw in Ilya was an emptiness that was so vast. Whatever came back to fill her body, there was so much missing. It was hardly even her. We may have somebody to watch our backs, but I don't think if we took Kamin back to them, I really don't think that we would get Kamin back.
Right. And goodness knows, we only saw this thing, points to the statue, only after he died. Who knows what else that he had been keeping from us that would be problematic if we were to bring him back. So, well, not to get too sentimental, but we are near a church.
Nice, God.
That was good. That was a good pull. Go ahead.
But yeah, I'll take a brief moment to rest, collect myself, make sure I'm making the right decision. I want to think on it. And
also that maybe just to get your guys' perceptions on it as the DM. So yes, Sludig, your wife is still back with the witches. Amina, your sister, is still back with the witches. Are you going to let that be for the time being? Is that something you're going to put on the back burner, so to speak?
it's not on the back burner for Sludig. Sludig knows the best thing he can do for himself, Ilya, friends, and all is to rid Driftchapel of this cult. Once he does that, Ilya will be at peace. Hopefully there will be much less danger around these parts for a little bit. And we'll be able to go about our lives. But if we need to go back, I can. I don't necessarily want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from Amina's point of view, like, as sort of perverted and twisted the way that her sister ended up being raised and like grew up, like, all in all, she's kind of okay, and she has the tools to like defend herself, clearly. Albeit she may not have like a complete, like, fully fledged understanding of the Gloam and the cultists and all that, but she's had the time to just accept that, like, even though she's not 100% willing to like forgive the witches for what they did, the way that they did it, like, in the end, like, all of them are okay now in their own sort of way. And so, like, so yeah, I think she's obviously tried to communicate with them. So if they heard her, they heard her. If they didn't, they didn't. So
Hurts my heart a little bit. Like, such, I mean, it's so fitting, but such tragic. Like, it's so tragic, all of it.
You did this.
I did this. I caused this. Oh man. So, for sake of brevity, you set up a camp in this clearing, or at least you can even find your previous camp just a couple 100 feet down a little hunting path to rebuild a camp. But at the very least, collecting whatever rubble and rocks you can, building a lovely burial site for Kamin. Even though he had an affinity for urban life and even the ocean, now is in the woods near a marshland. But giving him a burial. I'll leave it up to you guys. If you want to say anything in game, you can, or you can just have a nice moment of silence. Depends on your mood. Bradley's sitting at home like, yes, say nice things about me. Say you like me.
Okay. I do want to say some things, but the caveat is I want to say them in Celestial.
Oh, okay.
All right. Basically, the sentiment that I want to say is part of me is disinclined to believe this given all of the events that have happened. But if there is any sort of benevolent entity that still exists out there, make sure that you treat this one well, or I'll have a few words to say to you when I get up there.
Love it. Okay. Sludig, is there anything you want to say, or are you just going to let it be a moment of silence?
Sludig is gonna take the time to like pull out his incense from their little like dry bag of oiled cloth and just kind of sit there in silence and meditate alongside Kamin one last time. Reminisce the good or better moments we had. Think about the tragedy we shared. And hope that, if there is afterwards, it's a better place than Driftchapel. And having traveled alongside Kamin, he knows that Kamin has at least put effort into making it towards the bright end of things. God, because if there's hell too, like, what's worse than this, homie? Like,
Can it get any worse? Oh man.
feel
So
called out.
wait, what? What did I?
Oh no, it was.
Oh man. So let me see here. So, burying Kamin's body near the church, you do your best to somewhat prepare it for burial. Of course, you can't. There's only so much you can do with your resources and time and energy at hand. But you at least bury him with a bit of dignity. He was not one to take to the streets rough and look worse for wear. Always had to make a good impression. So you do your best to, make sure his hair's nice and neat and his clothes are fixed up. Yes, Drew.
So, as a ritual, I can do this. I want to cast Speak with Animals. And then, primarily, I just want to shout out, beasts of this world, this is not a feast for you to partake in. Stay away from these grounds, or deal with me wherever I can come from. So that hopefully he won't get, eaten up by the worms. Be allowed
By
to,
dwarves.
sit.
Make an animal handling check with advantage.
16.
There's already so little wildlife around just because of the horribleness of the Gloam that's taken over. But it's very opposite of what you would think, but doing that, it does go against everything you expect. Animals do appear. Birds take to the branches, a couple squirrels hop by, a rabbit hops through the brush, and they almost just stick to the sides and look. Animals don't do that anymore. The animals run away because of the Gloam horrors that roam the woods. But you got their attention. They felt comfortable to almost approach and are just looking on. So you think, like, yeah.
I guess seeing that they're respectful, I don't run at them.
Yeah. They put on little black veils and walk over and shake your hand. Sorry for your loss.
Hey, Mr. Deer.
But you head over to your camp as the sun is done setting, sitting by a fire. You're able to, dry off your wet clothes, dry out everything that was in your bags that is even remotely still usable. Gather up whatever resources you can, and I don't want to say loot the body because that's disrespectful, but searching through Kamin's things to see if there's, any other hidden statues or
He's got a fancy dancy timepiece.
yeah, master keys or anything. So
we need that.
I will, because I asked Bradley for this info because I knew this would come up.
Nah, loot me.
Loot me, bitch. I'm gonna send his stuff in the loot and handouts thing. So he has some spell scrolls. He has the book, The Whole of the Sea, that contains the ocean, apparently. 3 of those strange Gloam sea slugs that he's been collecting. The matching flintlock pistols that he got from Aveline in your Battle of the Birdsong Estate, 2 healing potions, and then the silver pocket watch, which you can actually scroll up and see. I believe it's in there. Oh, no, maybe not.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no, it is. There it
right
is.
by
Yep.
the Gasbane cloak.
So that's in there, and a flask of holy water.
Okay.
So you can divvy that up, reminisce about some of your adventures together, maybe have a drink on Kamin's behalf. And is there anything else before bedding down for the night that you want to do? And then heading back to Driftchapel.
I guess we need to figure out who gets what for
Yeah.
all of this. If you're okay with it, can take the spell scrolls and
Sluted cast spells now. He
Yeah, the
Unless
2
you want
spells
them.
I can cast as a ritual. Speak with animals and beastants.
That's
Part
my
of me
favorite.
thinks we should have buried the whole of the sea with Kamin.
You could do
so
that as
he's
well.
At least near the ocean.
And that's the other thing, is that since you know what he has, you're more than welcome to bury him with that stuff as sort of like an honorable, like, burying a knight with their armor kind of stuff.
We should take the Explorer's Pack, because that's got some decent stuff in there.
Okay.
You don't use pistols. I don't use pistols.
Wait, hang on. Could I use them?
I think what we agreed at the beginning of the game was like, it's kind of like, riding a horse. You all can ride a horse, whether like you're proficient in vehicles or not. For me, it's the same with firearms. Like if you're proficient with simple weapons, you could use a pistol. If you're proficient in martial weapons, you can use a rifle or a musket or anything.
Okay, well then theoretically I could use the pistols.
Yeah. Of course they're not quiet
Right.
or by any
Right.
means.
I mean, I say we take them.
Mm-hmm.
They could be worth a lot. They're matching it nice.
True.
I'll let you hold on to the Gloam creatures. That seems
Okay.
more funky your end.
It's
I think
literally
sure
just like
thing.
glass bottles of these black sea slugs.
Fair enough.
Do you want the pocket watch, or do you want me to have the pocket watch?
I need to look
I just
real
was seeing Bradley's messages of keep the cool shit, don't bury that. I don't. Oh man.
Actually, you keep the pocket watch.
Mm.
You hold on to it.
So Sludig did not pay much attention as to what it did whenever Kamin first figured out, so he's gonna
Can
spend some time as we're resting.
Sludig read a clock?
I have a 13 intelligence.
Oh yeah, you can. Never mind. You're fine. Hi, Lyra. You always gotta. You just want to be next to me, don't you? Oh, that was really pitiful, honey. Were you embarrassed? He walked away. She was gonna jump up,
to see that.
but she saw me move the book, and I think it freaked her out right as she jumped. So she did like a half jump and just went like, and then just missed completely, and then she walked away, embarrassed. Oh, there she goes. Bye, Lyra.
All right.
Things divvied up.
Yeah, I think so. So, and then you take the healing potions. You need them right now.
I will appreciate that.
Yes. So you guys will get a night's sleep, so you can take a short rest, burn hit dice, but you've also had a lot of short rest and not a lot of long rest. So I don't know how many hit dice you have left. You at least get key points back.
This is true, and I like those.
When does your wholeness of body, or no?
Long rest.
Oh, it's long rest.
And our points of exhaustion go away at short rest. Yeah.
Yes, that is something we.
Oh, okay. So we
house
are doing
rule.
that now.
Yes.
That's nice.
Well,
'cause
it's it reduces a level of exhaustion.
Okay.
Because that would just be super brutal if it took you a week just to get rid of one level of exhaustion.
Yeah, I was prepared for it. I was already grabbing my bootstraps.
So you can roll however many hit dice you want to spend, regain hit points, and then you can add your Constitution modifier to each one. Even though Amina basically got out of this pretty scot-free as far as hit points go.
I'm surprised. Like, I thought
that's the great part about being a rogue is you kind of like sit at the back and like, I'm just over here. Don't mind me.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be
Basically.
suspicious.
Okay. Just give me a thumbs up when you guys are ready to continue.
Let's go. Oh.
I'm so back up to 83, and I have 2 monk hit dice left, and that's it.
I know. I don't know how it is from a player perspective. I'm loving the gritty long rest stuff. It really
it's nice. It makes decision making more impactful because, like, we can't just take a nap at night tonight and recover from
And be
everything we
fine.
just did to ourselves.
Yeah.
Because like with our Forgotten Prince boss battle, when you were like, I have no I only have first level spell slots. I'm like, yes,
Yes.
that's like
And
the dream.
Getting someone down to only having first level spell slots who's a full caster for a week.
At like level 11
Yeah.
or 10 or whatever you guys are.
I'm digging a hole, burying myself. Come get me when a week has gone.
Yeah, I'm done. We're done here. So you guys short rest for the night. Put a pin in that because I have a note. I'm literally going to make a sticky note and put it directly in front of me so I don't forget that I am putting a pin in that. But the rest of this is going to be much more narrative as you head back into Driftchapel. So, The morning comes, and probably grateful for it to see the sunrise. You... Hopefully you guys don't hear that. Someone's revving their engine in the freaking parking lot.
Oh, that was. I thought it was me. Sorry. Someone's doing it here too.
Hey. Yee, as the kids say. You guys wake up in the morning, grateful to be able to boil water on your fire and drink a cup of fresh water in the morning. Drink some coffee or tea or whatever you might have at your disposal.
Nah, it's high quality H2O over here all day.
You guys pack up your camp, walk your way out to the main road, this branch of the Withered Road. You look to your right toward the Erwile Bog. You think about your poor horse and cart. That is with the witches.
Cock.
Your horse cock. But then turn left to head back toward Driftchapel. It takes 4 or 5 days to do so. Of course, as... Man, Bradley keeps getting shut out by the bot.
It got him last time for saying "eat me." It was hilarious.
Okay, let me...
Right above it, Ian said, "That's pretty fucking big," and it didn't get Ian.
Okay, I'm gonna turn off the use default. Well, see, that's the problem, is they blacklist weird words, and so it's like, yeah, I don't want people saying the, racial slurs on my stream, but also, they could say "eat me." There's no middle ground, so I'm sorry for everyone trying to make funny jokes in the chat. There's not a good middle ground. Maybe I can let it allow subscribers to say whatever they want.
Can you pay to break the law?
That's what that means. That's literally what that means. Jesus.
Capitalism.
I mean, the answer is yes to any crime that's just a fine, but...
Oh, all right, Drew. We ain't got time for all that. Let's deal with eldritch horrors, a much better evil.
Easier to actually deal with.
Easier to actually deal with. Now, to put it into perspective, it's strange thinking about it this way, but you guys have been away from Driftchapel for about 2 full weeks. So when you get back, it's almost like a different town. You walk in, entering from the south side, and actually, I can have a thing for this. Let's see here. Let me put away this little bit of art and put up the Driftchapel map. So you guys enter in on the southeastern side of the town. Ban Streamlabs. Please don't ban Streamlabs. That'll cause a mess. Entering in from the south side of the town, where you see a simple graveyard and many homes and tenements for people of the town. And you recall, almost a month prior, when you entered into Driftchapel for the first time, as the sun was setting, everything was dark, even all the houses. Almost no lights indoors, as if there was no one living in this town. But as you stayed there for a time, during the middle of the day, people are out working down at the docks, going from place to place. It's still sparse, but there are people. You guys arrive near noon, and it's strangely quiet. Point where both of you, your senses kick in, hair on the back of your neck stands up. You start walking a little bit slower through town, trudging in, looking about. Everything is empty. Eventually, the only place you could probably think to go is to the inn. I mean, that was your home for near 2 weeks being in town. You can go see the proprietor, who would seem to be the only sane person in town. You can go find Dieter there, probably drinking. And so, you head that way. Daniel, do you have a thing you want to
Yes. Actually, Drew, if this is all right with you, is the Ortist closer to us than the tavern? Actually, screw it. Even if she's not, I want to go straight to her.
Sure.
I want to
That's
go
fine.
to the Ortist's shop.
Definitely. Get my NPC blocks here. Okay, so you make your way across town, crossing the waterways. And if I get both of you to make a perception check for me.
I didn't roll a nat one the entire time I was poisoned.
Oh no.
But now I
go
get an
ahead.
8 with my lovely.
Thank God for proficiency and stuff, because I got an 11.
As you reach the bridge that crosses the waterway that cuts through Driftchapel, and I think I may have sent it a hecking long time ago, so I will get the map pulled up again for you guys. It's on stream in case you just want to look at it immediately, but oh no, I don't know where it is. Okay, I'll send it in a second because we're gonna pause for a moment. But you make your way over across the bridge to this waterway, which is normally murky and foamy and just riddled with refuse and debris. And it's still that way. But what catches Amina's attention is the unnerving amount of dried blood along the brick wall next to the waterway in almost every direction. And you kind of recognize the sight of creatures attacking and pulling people down. There's all sorts of claw marks and a boot that may be left along the brick wall where someone got pulled down or dragged over to it. You see a couple streaks of blood leading to the waterway. So there, and you recall Dieter saying something about people going missing, getting attacked. And it seems to have ramped up in the past 2 weeks. So immediately being put on guard, walking your way around. As you're reaching the Ortisterium, you smell the burning of the incense and ingredients. You see the smoke coming out of the chimney, and it's a little bit of a relief. But then you hear a gunshot come from the western end of town, near the inn. So, do you continue over toward the Ortis shop?
So how many people typically came in armed other than Dieter, if we can have any remembrance?
Most people came in armed. The only reason that would be weird is that you haven't seen anyone.
Amina is going to turn to Sludig after a few seconds of awkward silence and say, "You are more than welcome to investigate that if you wish, but I'm going to get myself stocked up from this friend of ours, from potentially our only friend right now."
So Sludig is sad, but he is going to hand you his gold pouch of 80 gold, asking you, get me what you can with this, and, well, if we can trade those pistols for some extra potions. I can't help but feeling that if we don't go over to where this gunshot came from, we may regret it later.
I'll try to be quick.
Okay. So, Sludig, are you actually going to go investigate, or are you going to kind of wait and linger and kind of head that way?
I'm going to go investigate.
Definitely.
And as I'm making my way there, I'm going to drink 2 of those 3 health potions.
Double fisting some potions.
Love it.
Awesome. So in the meantime, Amina, you walk over to the to Agnes Wood's shop. You walk in, immediately met by the smell of burning incense and candles, and you see her. You can see her silhouette through the curtain leading back to her little workshop area, just working away as the bell rings when you walk in. She says, yeah, just a minute. You hear glass clinking, things bubbling and brewing. You hear something spill, and she goes, and she steps out from behind the curtain, still mixing stuff while moving. Definitely not safe, definitely not up to code. But she sees you, and she says, okay, I'm so glad to see you. I wish I could... where have you been? What are you doing back here? What... She sets down the thing so she doesn't spill any more on her hands. She has acid burns all down the back sides of her hands from dumping back and forth. She says, what? Hello? What? Welcome back.
Amina is going to grab the a sack that has an astonishing amount of gold in it at this point, slams it on the table, looks her square in the face, in the eyes, and just goes, I know what's happening, and we are here to try to put a stop to it. But we need help. I want you to give us everything that you have that could possibly aid us in fighting these things. Healing, curses, spells, potions, anything. We need it all.
Drew, you really got me.
No, I'm not, I completely forgot that would affect you too. I was hoping Ian was still in the chat. That was like 8. That was brand new, man. And then I saw you, Rad. I was like, he was there too.
Me and Ian working that fucking Dippin' Dots cooler.
So many pretzels. I'm so sorry to derail because, like, Danny, you were going hardcore. But I'm like, this has to be said. He's just throwing potions back and forth.
Woo! God, that was like a core memory that just popped loose in my head. Holy shit. So, Amina, Agnes Wood, she's wearing her Ordicerium robes and veil, and her staff is propped up in the corner, but she doesn't look great. Things are stained, her robes are burnt at the fringes. She has been working nonstop, bags under her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And you set down the satchel of coin. You make these demands. She says, whatever you need, I'll whip it up. Things, I know I'm here on business meant to just observe, but I from my observations, things are bad, Miss Said. People are disappearing. Buildings are getting destroyed. Someone attacked the inn last week or 2. How long has it been? You have to. It's all. The town won't last long. And you recall the inn being destroyed in a dream you had. Says it'll take me some time to get things made and procured, but tomorrow morning I'll have it done. Everything.
Amina, without any hesitation, is going to move like super close and just like gently like get her head like from like not shaking, and looks her square in the eyes and goes, "Honey, I will help you with this tonight if you need the help. Because this killed our friend. And I fully intend to send every bit of wrath that I have in my body to those bastards. So let's get cracking.
Oh, I love it. So she nods. And with that, we'll jump over to Sludig, who's going to investigate the gunshot. And with that, we'll actually take a quick little break so we can get Bradley into this call. So we will be
Dun
right
dun
back.
dun!
Holy cow, everyone.
Feel the need to
Now, this scene looks a little bit familiar. Somewhat. Except now Bradley's name has just a question mark over it, but you can vaguely see his name underneath it. And I'm glad you had goosebumps, Justin. You can always count on me to give you goosebumps. It makes it extra weird because I haven't talked to Justin in I don't know how many years.
It's okay. He winked back. I know.
In your heart, that brotherly, he did it. So we left off with Sludig booking it across town to investigate whatever that gunshot was. Now here's what that gunshot was. Bradley,
That's
character
me.
to be introduced in a moment, recently arriving in the town of Driftchapel. You've heard rumors of it's basically how terrible it is, but you're now seeing it for the first time. It's nearly abandoned. There's gore literally painting the streets, and everyone you have bumped into is heavily shrouded, rude. They almost look sick. And with no real place to stay, and as many visitors do, you try to find an inn or a bar or somewhere to figure out what's going on. So you make your way to the Rivermouth Inn, sort of near the center of town, except upon arrival, the town's only inn is in shambles. There's a massive hole broken through one of the walls, the doors ripped off its hinges, tables and chairs are thrown to either end of the room. But you do see a handful of people in there that have tried to fix it up. Sailors who have gone in there with nowhere else to go. But you see a figure sitting at the bar. You get a tingle as you walk into the building and you look at this person sitting there hunched over, sipping at what seems to just be a bottle. But finally, they seem to sense you too. And when they turn around, you see a grizzled, bearded man in a big raincoat, big wide hat. But on his lapel is a pin of the Dawn Hammers. And you see the face of Dieter Stone, one of your Dawnhammer brothers that you were supposed to die with, who abandoned you and your entire squadron of crusaders and fighters and soldiers and paladins. A deserter of the war. And he makes contact with you. And he stands up, hand kind of reaching for pistol, assuming that you are there to kill him. He's just head tilted down, brim of his hat halfway covering his face, and is just waiting.
No, you don't get out of this one that easily.
So Bradley, if you would like to describe and introduce your character.
Taller humanoid man, probably stands around 6'2", 6'3", rather thin, more slender. Very well kept on the shorter side. Black hair, at the ends, but lots of gray roots coming out and other patches of kind of salt and pepper. Nice little handlebar mustache, same thing. Like the roots are still there, but they're starting to turn gray as it kind of gets out there. Um, Wearing just a fairly nice. Has been traveling a lot, so it's gotten mud and other things onto it. But it's a nice, like lighter tan colored overcoat with a white collared shirt and a simple, kind of like brooch tied to it with a little green emerald, just a little jewel, just kind of set to it, with a red vest kind of poking out from under it. You see just simple plain black trousers and some traveling boots. You see two flintlock pistols on holsters at hip on either side, as well as a rifle slung over a shoulder, and just a large backpack almost slung over the other shoulder, this one with a large red X or cross on the back of it. But walking in, seeing this gentleman preparing to strike, I look at him. You don't get off that easily. I'll just take a step forward quickly, and I want to try and snatch the Dawnhammer pin off of his lapel.
As you start to step forward, you see him whip his pistol out. In your time in war, you also have your own quick reflexes. But you notice that the way his body's turning, he's not about to aim at you. And he quick draws, fires his flintlock pistol, and in a quick flurry, you glance over your shoulder as one of the folks that was sitting on a nearby stool drinking had lunged up with this rusty, almost barnacle-encrusted knife toward you and flies off to the side. Dieter,
Interesting company you keep.
he holsters his pistol. You're not here to kill me, are you?
I wasn't. But I might be reconsidering. What the hell's is going on here?
Gestures over, says, join me. He kind of pulls you over to sit at the bar with him.
Are there other people in the bar right now other than Dieter?
Besides that one person he just shot, he was sitting with, that person was sitting with another guy at the same table who's still like punch shrouded in the corner. But besides that, it's just him and Dieter.
I'll grab a pistol from my left holster, just pull it out and point it at the guy and say, I'd like some privacy with my old colleague.
Make an intimidation check.
Right.
First roll of the new character. Oh god. That was a good roll though. 23.
The figure looks up and you see tries to like, I don't mean to like hold up hands, but then as they back away you can clearly see a similar grotesque knife at their hip, all sorts of patched up robes, and sort of a sunken face about them. But they eventually skirt away, and then the moment they hit the door, bolting away.
I'll holster the pistol back in and take a seat next to Dieter.
And Sludig, you round the corner to see a person bolting down the street.
Is he close enough to where I could catch him?
You're a fast person, so yes.
I'm gonna catch him.
You catch this person. They whip around. They have this tightly drawn mouth. Signs of like dehydration, withered, dried up skin, sunken eyes. They kind of hiss with these darkened, rotten nails. They say, "Please, please, leave me be." You immediately
See
recognize a
how
cultist.
Alone, I'll leave you. It'll depend on your answers to these questions. First one is, what are you running away from?
There's a soldier, a newcomer, an outsider in the inn.
What about him? There were gunshots.
Yeah, he had a gun. Let me go.
Well, did he? I'm not letting go, by the way. Did he shoot at you? You seem to be in as close to one piece as one like you could be.
No, one of them shot my friend. Let me go. I'll summon the flesh spawn.
Sludig picks him up with his one hand.
I want to see
Easily
the
enough.
flesh spawn. I want do it. Do it, bitch.
I want to see it. Show me the flesh spawn. I've seen the things your uppers have eaten.
He said,
It is
Bet.
nothing to me.
I hold on. Let me quote the phrase: "Show me the flesh spawn."
Show me the flesh spawn.
So you called this cultist bluff. However, they say, "Let me go, and Sathog will have his revenge."
Ooh, Sathog, tell me about this person. And I hold him tighter.
Make an intimidation check.
13 plus 3 is 16.
So you say, "Tell me more about this person."
Tell me more. Tell
Tell me more. And when you say this, you say it intimidating, but this cultist also thinks he's being intimidating, and so he thinks you're being threatened by him revealing this information. And so he says, "Sathog, the flesh spawn, lives between the realms, is on the verge of breaking through. All it takes is the snap of our fingers, and he will break through, tear Driftchapel down, and make way. You'll see." Spitting all the while.
So, if he's going to do all these things, then we'll just walk over here to this alley and we'll see if he helps you.
This is a cathartic experience for Sludig. Sludig needs to kill somebody right now.
Savage.
Work out
Go
some
off.
issues.
Sludig, you have high wisdom. Make an insight check for me.
I think I'm proficient in that. I am not, but that's okay. 14.
But you see, there's a slight, just crack at the corner of his mouth as this person grins. And you're quick enough to make a reaction, but you watch as you're kind of dangling him in the air, that he goes to reach for his dagger, not to attack, but to just cut himself. And you know that these cultists sort of use powerful magic that way, by making these sort of self-sacrifices. And so you catch him just as he's about, like, grabbing the handle of his dagger, about to do whatever magic.
So since he has reached for his weapon, I would like to fully grapple him, and if I'm not already doing that, I would like to make the second grapple check to restrain him.
You can do it. There's no way he's gonna roll high enough.
It seems you want this flesh spawn to aid you out where everyone can see you, and having him down in like an arm bar. You wanted to hurt yourself to make it come out, right? Snap.
He's like, "Wait, no, there's a whole ritual that goes along with these."
Where's this flesh spawn to help you? Tell me everything you know about him. I might let you see if you can bring him out if your information excites me enough.
So In the meantime, Bradley, you are joining Dieter at the bar. Your
Mhm.
former war buddy who apparently deserted you.
Buddy.
Buddy in quotes.
I ain't your buddy, pal.
Ain't your
Um,
pal, guy.
but as you join him, he answers your question about what's going on here and says, whole town's going to shit.
That's it. Town's going to shit.
Well, I
Creepy
guess
people covered in barnacles stabbing strangers in bars.
world's going to shit, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of what we were fighting a war to prevent.
Right. Well, trying to do my part now, I guess. There's an evil out there. Not the Gloam like I thought. Well, it's the Gloam. Something that controls the Gloam. Some god, I guess. I don't know. Something from the sea.
Okay. How are you helping to stop this exactly?
I mean, I guess not stop it, just slow it down. He points to the guy he shot. Says those fuckers have been trying to bring about something. Katu, Sathog, whatever other.
I'm assuming none of these names sound remotely familiar.
Katu sounds familiar. Actually, if you'll make a religion check for me.
Religion.
Religion.
7.
Oh no. You at least know Katu as sort of an evil deity that is cropped up. Some believe her to be the cause of the Gloam, but at the very least, people sort of view her as a god that has been gained popularity somewhat because of the Gloam. Sathog, though, no idea.
I want to do an insight check to see if this is truthful or if these are like drunken ramblings.
Make an insight check.
Ooh. 6. Coming in with these hot rolls.
Dieter has always had the taste for drink. So if he spent as much time here, and it doesn't help his credibility that with this town falling apart, that you caught him in a bar drinking
In the
straight
bar.
from a bottle.
I was going to ask, is he drinking currently?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely seems like drunken ramblings. So he goes on about Katu, these fanatics, the flesh spawn, but it's, who knows? Seems just like rambles.
Okay. Well. First things first, I'm going to find someone sober to talk to. But if you think you're really here helping out, doing the right thing, and I grab the bottle from him, then do it, and I'll throw it against the opposite wall, smashing it.
Awesome. Sludig, you're intimidating this cultist about who Sathog the flesh spawn is. it reaches a point that the most this person's willing to tell you that Sathog, referring to Sathog as the second seal, that when Sathog breaks through, the rest is imminent.
Note to self, make sure that doesn't happen. Sorry, just writing that down.
No worries.
So your little group plans on bringing this creature here? Where can I find these people to watch such a great thing happen?
Make an intimidation check. That's really well.
Ooh, let's see. It's either +3 or +4. It's a dirty 20.
This person, they seem to be, so, okay, this is about to be a strange description, but I hope it makes sense. A typical person, if they were to drink salt water, they would become dehydrated and die within, a week or so. The cultist, and especially now you having been dehydrated and lived through that, this cultist in your grasp and cultists you have seen previously, they seem to be the result of like weeks and weeks of dehydration. Their skin is taut against their bones, their skin's cracked and bleeding, and all the voices are raspy. And so even though like he's not injured, this person has like blood dripping out of the corner of their mouth and dripping down their lips. And he just kind of lets out like a raspy laugh and says, "This town seems like a good spot, and the inn seems like a perfect venue." He just kind of lets out a raspy cough laugh.
So as he does that, or makes that laugh, I laugh myself and I say, "You seem a little parched there. Maybe something to help you be a little less dry." And then immediately Sludig lights himself on fire with the Gasbane cloak.
At this
Yes.
point, Bradley's character and Dieter hear a scream, a dry, blood-curdling scream come from outside.
I turn around and quickly run out.
Dieter follows in tow, pauses for a moment to search for any other bottles that might be happening to sit on a table at the bar, but then keeps running. And then both of you pour out into the street to see a very large man in a cloak of fire holding that gentleman that ran from the bar, who is also now on fire and screaming. And at that point, through the screaming, Dieter yells, "Sludig! Hey, bud!"
Dieter, well, I'm glad to see that you've made it out of here alive. Was that you with the gunshot?
That was me. I was taking off his friend. I think he's pretty well done. And
You're right. I may be getting a little bit off my chest. Kamin, he did not make it.
figured something like that would happen. Well,
But
He figured I would die. Rude ass bitch.
yeah, the moment you met in the session zeros, he was like, this guy's
He ain't gonna make it.
I mean, also his first impression of you was pretending to be a
Yeah,
prophet
it's
in the
true.
cult.
That's true.
Yeah.
Uh, y- Sir, you're on fire?
Oh, don't worry about this. I say its command word to let it go back to just being a cloak. This is something I have come upon in my travels.
Interesting travels.
Unfortunate places I've gone to in them as well. But you seem to know Dita. Who are you?
Unfortunately. Lieutenant Kieran Hogue, and I'll reach out a hand to shake his hand.
Firmly grasp it.
Firmly grasp it.
Is Kieran spelled Ieran?
Yes.
Make a quick little frame.
I'm gonna include the lieutenant part. What was your last name? I apologize.
Hogue. It's like rogue, but with an H.
It's like rogue, an H. And yeah, you see that Dieter is immediately a little uncomfortable about all of it, and is kind of nodding along. But then Dieter interjects and says, well, I guess what I'm doing to help is, I guess it's really them. I guess Sludig, I owe you an apology, but I kind of drug them into Driftchapel, drug them into this mess.
Well, we were coming here anyway, Dita. Our problems are with the people making this town worse, so if anything, him bringing us here is helping the few that are left to be helped.
Dieter straightens out his lapel, and you see that it's unconscious to Dieter because he's worn the pin on his lapel for so long of this ratty raincoat. But he kind of rubs his finger across his Dawn Hammer pin, straightens it out. Glad to hear that, Sludig.
I suppose even a blind squirrel finds a few nuts occasionally.
Yeah, Sludig, is Mina okay? Is she around?
The last I saw her, she was well. She's with the oldest right now. They're running low on just about everything, unfortunately.
How many others are in your complement?
It is just my friend Amina and I.
So,
You seem capable. Are you here to help this place?
I don't know what I'm here for anymore. Came for some personal business, but I don't feel right leaving this place like this. So yeah, I guess I'm here to help. What's actually going on here?
So I immediately go into this rant about Katu and this new creature we just found out about, Sathog.
Oh no.
In that, I include our most recent journey to the Bog Witches and how their magic is, though connected to the Gloam, separate in its darkness. How they are not necessarily working for the betterment of Driftchapel, but they're also working to prevent the spread of the Gloam, the spread of this cult. I include the events that we knew of that happened at Birdsong Estate, the fact that people have been going missing into the waterways, and that has upticked apparently, having heard about the blood from Amina. The strange wandering suit of diving armor. And I just keep... that's what... So... oh, jeez. Been going back to paper notes.
So,
And that was not...
so this is all real then?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, what are we doing now to stop it?
Well, unfortunately for myself and probably my companion as well, one of the best things we can do to make sure that we at least are a decent threat to what comes, we need to rest. We just got back from an arduous journey. What we saw, the things we had to deal with, it removed one of our companions from us, killed him, and I know myself, the emotional scars, the physical scars, I show them the like scratch marks from the deep ones. They will take more than a night before I'll be able to be back adventuring again.
My condolences for your loss. If you need rest, I'd suggest we be quick about it, but we need to figure out what's going on here. If you and your companion only know as much has been disclosed, we're missing some pretty major pieces of this puzzle. We need to figure out what's really going on here, or where this is going on, how this is going on. We need more information.
I definitely agree with you. Uh, the man that you just saw that was burned to toast, he mentioned something about Sathog being the second seal, and that once Sathog has broken through, the rest of what to come was imminent. So I feel as though maybe discovering where. I mean, he did say that this was a good place for Sathog to be returned as well, so at least we know Driftchapel is the right place. But
Well, where do we start? Who in town actually knows things and is sober?
oh, that last part's gonna narrow the list.
Really?
I mean, the town's proprietor might know something, or the mayor. Uh, I remember seeing people gathering near the graveyard by the Birdsong Estate. Maybe we can tail some of the people there, because having explained everything about Aveline, it was weird when we saw the people gathering around her gravesite, and we never did investigate that.
I think we figured out what happened. Because her body came back and kind of killed me.
That is true. That is true.
Thanks.
So,
They probably be going back then.
you
Well, let's find your companion and let's piece some things together. Let's get started.
at this point, you break to start walking across town. And you hear essentially a foghorn, a massive horn sound coming from the west. And probably Amina too, even though you are tinkering away with Agnes in her workshop. You hear kind of distant, this massive sound of a ship coming in. And peering as you walk through the things, there's a ship coming into port, which seems a bit odd. And specifically, you see it flying a flag of the Eggfeld Isles way outside, out in the ocean.
That used to mean something.
Used to mean something. But continuing on, eventually making it to Agnes's workshop, meet and greet ensues, and that's probably where we'll go ahead and stop, and we can talk a little bit more next time.
Oh boy.
Who
Oh boy, indeed.
New character. Who dis?
dis? Thanks for playing along, Bradley.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Went into this not knowing hardly anything about your character. Not even the name. It's like, come on, just jump on in.
just play. It's fine.
And at first I was like, hey, he was a Dawnhammer, so maybe he knows Dieter. But then really thinking about Dieter and that he was
An asshole.
kind of an asshole and he was not very well liked, I'm like, man, and Kamin kind of liked Dieter. So this will be a really weird change of pace.
Me and Dieter were buddies.
I mean,
I can't
I
wait
wouldn't
to kill
say
Dieter.
he's a stand-up guy, but like, Dieter never did us dirty.
Never did you
True.
He
dirty.
never did
Very
you
true.
That is
dirty.
true. He did not abandon me on the battlefield.
Holy cow. Love it. Yeah.
Honestly, the funnest part about this is I still haven't really figured out like what class build this character is at all. So if you had said roll initiative, I would have been panicking.
That's why I was like, yeah, he can jump in because it's just going to be role playing. Like, there's not going to be too much of anything going on. Except like the one intimidation check to get that guy out of there.
It was a good one.
I'm interested to see though if you end up, because you're a war guy, if you end up playing like a lawful character, because a lawful character in this kind of world would be weird.
It would be.
It'd be hard as shit.
How would you even play that?
Exactly.
It's like personal
gonna be
view of law. You
personal
follow
law.
your code.
Yeah, it'd definitely be more lawful or neutral, not so much lawful good.
And I feel like with your like history or something, like them talking about like, yeah, we went and met the bog witches, you'd be like, ah, fuck those people. Like, no, they're evil.
What? The bog witches? Yeah, we found out.
Oh man, but yeah. Oh jeez. Well, I guess we're
Jesus.
back at square one. Back in Driftchapel finally.
For a long rest.
For maybe a long rest if you've got the time to take a
Oh.
week.
I just got here. Time to take a nap. Okay.
I mean, if you can go investigate.
Oh, I will.
Well, and also like you were probably traveling a while to get here. Like,
I'm
yeah,
tired,
take some
yeah.
time off. But
I flew in just last night, and boy, are my arms tired.
Ooh. But yes, I'm interested to see what you guys do because yeah, you have discovered a lot of stuff since you've been gone. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in 2 weeks. And actually, let me do the math real quick. October 29th will be our last October session, 2 days before Halloween.
Halloween.
Maybe we'll do
episode,
something
Halloween
special.
episode.
I'll brainstorm something. It'd be fun to do a Halloween Shadows over Driftchapel.
Do it.
Double spooky.
Double spooky. It's super normal. Like it's basically like playing The Sims but a tabletop RPG.
Playing residents in households. My God.
Honestly, that would be creepy.
Hey, congrats, Sludig. You are a part-time chef at the local restaurant.
Sounds like a fulfilling day's work to me.
Congrats. Ooh.
Oh no, Sludig. Bills are due. If you don't pay them tomorrow, the water is shut off.
Oh
I
God.
don't know. Cooking intensifies.
Sludig, your girlfriend is mad at you.
Sludig, your girlfriend
This is a win.
pregnant.
My girlfriend is alive in this world.
Sludig, your girlfriend proposes to Woohoo.
Again, really simple. Sluted kills woohoo.
Oh man. So that's the end of the session. We'll be back again in 2 weeks. I still need to do a giveaway. We still have not had quite enough people to do a giveaway, so we're still trying to get that because I don't want to end this campaign with some free copies of the supplement still to give out. I'm still a little amazed at like our first session when we had like 30 people show up.
So many people.
So many
Alright.
people. I forget that happens until I'm like, yeah, I mean, we could do 10, but like we got 30 people at one time. Like, That was unbelievable.
Praise be the invaders that brought about the Spoon Legion.
The Spoon Legion. Come back. Do it again. I dare you.
Another one.
Haha, just kidding. Unless.
Malachi.
So yes, we'll be back again in 2 weeks, and then maybe 2 weeks after that for a special Halloween thing. Check out my Patreon for some very fun stuff. I've got a dungeon that you'll get a sneak preview upcoming very soon. Very dragon-esque. And then hopefully I will be doing some more test plays for my Dungeon Masters Guild adventures. Since Sharn Knights is ending, I'm going to start up my Sharn Knights, my Sharn investigative mystery adventures again to potentially publish. So if you're interested in those, you can check them out on DM's Guild eventually in the upcoming weeks. And also, I pull playtest people from my Discord. And you can get access to Discord as a $1 supporter of my Patreon. So if you just want to play in some random D&D stuff for funsies, that's one way you can do it. I think that's it. And then finally, on Monday, Sharn Knights will be back for one of the last 2 to 3 sessions of the campaign. Crazy that's going to be happening. We've also been streaming for a year. For some reason, 30 sessions feels like a million years. Even though I see people all the time who are like, yeah, my campaign's been going on for 120 sessions. And I'm like, you're a crazy person.
You're insane.
I don't get it. That's a whole thing.
Trying to go 1 to 20 with the same character.
We've been playing Regala for like 2 or 3 years
years
now, and we're at 38 or something.
Is there like a
Are we
world
that bad at
record for
missing?
sessions in the campaign?
Probably.
There
I'm
was a
sure it's
video
horrible.
circulating around years ago. There's like people were on like several thousands of sessions, and they were like making new characters, but it was all in the same world, and their characters were all connected.
Does that count?
I don't know, but they were. It's like these people who've been playing since 1st edition are now playing 5th edition, and like.
Okay, I mean that's
Yeah.
still very.
I mean, they were
impressive.
all in their 40s and whatnot, like adults with real jobs.
Still
Also,
very.
shout-outs to possible 5.5 coming out in 2024.
Yeah, okay, that's a whole. That's a can of worms we don't got time for. So
That's a
with
big
that,
can
Sharn Nights on Monday. Subscribe to my Patreon. Watch my video game streams. I do Cozy Grove streams and whatever else I feel like playing. It's lots of fun. It's a nice little break in the middle of the day. Patreon, DM's Guild. Follow me on social media. Wish them luck so they don't die anymore. But with
Guess
that,
I'll die.
oh man, I guess Bradley, you have a new character who has recently arrived in Driftchapel. So Bradley, what's the weather like in Driftchapel?
Bloody.
Alrighty, good night, everyone.